Let me. Hey everyone, welcome to this session where I'm going to walk you through what is persuasion. And this persuasion and hyper personalization, I'm going to talk from a not from a data analytics or a business analytics case, but from a very different perspective, which is more about how do you understand how do you understand the psychology, how do you understand what are the things that drive people to take an action, and finally how do you use this data, how do you use this understanding of the user and create custom personalization at a scale that is very very customized, very unique uh, to individuals. Yeah. uh, Let me know if you have any questions. You can use the chat or the Q&A to ask any questions, and I'll also ask during the presentation I'll also ask you questions about certain things so that I get a better understanding of what your perception is. Yeah. So generally when we talk about user experience, right, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? And if you could write your answers in the Q&A section or the chat section, I think probably the Q&A section will be better. uh, if I could just get a couple of answers and then we can move ahead. Yeah. What do you think? What is your understanding of user experience? Hello, Kate. Okay. So it's user experience is how well we are helped and supported end to end. User journey, intuitiveness, how certain things look, laziness, user friendly and easy to access and make customers feel wow. Okay. So all of them are correct in a sense. There's an interesting take on this, how adaptive is the system for end user. The feeling that a consumer leaves with post a transaction. This is perfectly articulated. While there's a lot of stuff, right? I mean, all of you have given the right answers. If I were to pick an answer from this, it's basically the feeling that a consumer leaves post an interaction with your system. Now, many a times we think that usability, that user experience, is just about making things simple, just about look and feel, just about the screens, but user experience is much, much more, much beyond that. Now, if you look at the screen here, the screen here is actually a screen from a mainframe system. Yeah. So when people talk about, in the industry, a lot of designers talk about that, whenever we create something, developers will tell us that something is not doable, but we've been doing user experience since the time of a mainframe. So if you look at this content, yeah, how everything is structured, even a programmer, right, even a programmer needs to uh, make his, or make his productivity efficient. We have to make the programmers productivity efficient. So what we have done is we've just screen, and there's nothing about user interface here. Yeah. We've just taken the structure and we've changed it into a way that will make it efficient for the user to to obs- observe this content, absorb this content and take an action. So there are many different attributes to usability, to user experience, and one is the performance part, where we talk about efficiency, we talk about aesthetics, we talk about how people can use systems, whether it's simple or not, whether it's user friendly like people said, whether it's accessible, like people said, all of those things. Yeah. But it's not just about that. Yeah. Usability, especially user experience, in the last few years, there's been a lot of research on understanding the deep driven motivations of a user and creating something that is very persuasive, very attractive, very it's a lot of influence. It's influencing to the user at different points of time within the customer journey. So when we talk about user experience, it's a combination of both usability as well as persuasion. Now persuasion is not just about showing ads, not just about showing ads, just about putting cognitive biases, and I'll explain about those methods later in this slide. It's all about understanding how humans take a decision, how we take a decision. And mostly what we've learned through science, through research, is that we take a decision based on emotions. And it's mostly in case of taking emotions, it's not about logical rational decisions. It's all driven by emotion. Yeah. So can you tell me the last time when you have purchased something, what were you thinking when you made that purchase? Let's say shopping for a shirt, shopping for a dress, shopping for say a bigger TV, something like. Just go back and think through and tell me what were you thinking at that point of time. What was the first thing that struck you with where you said, I want to buy this product? Good offers, looks nice, usefulness. Now Sunil, to your question, usefulness, is it something that immediately struck you, or were you really thinking, like you rationalize your decision later? Value for money, need for product, prior experience with the brand. Yeah. While shopping, it looks nice on me and attractive, makes me hungry. Yeah. Most of the answers here, almost 90% of the answers, except for Mr. Sunil Salaria, is all driven by emotion. Yeah, there are very few logical things. And if you deep dive and then if you question yourself, you'll see that it is not the logic part that comes up front, right? It makes me feel nice. It makes me look nice. Utility is something that I might think about after I have purchased the product. I'll rationalize this. I'll rationalize this, or saying, okay, I really need another one of another black shirt. I already have four, but probably this is because you're offering a discount, and because there are a lot of deals, it is really attractive to me, because it says something about my need for efficacy, that I am a value driven person. I'm getting a very good deal about that. It's this it's the inbuilt status that you have, inbuilt think about you having a good impression about you, because you think you've got a very big deal. Yeah. Again, worth for money, you're logically rationalizing this at a later stage. Yeah. Many a times. Now another question that I need to ask you: how many times do we how many times are we seeing a movie, are we seeing a sitcom, and the actor on the screen starts eating something? It could be a jalebi, it could be a samosa, it could be a tandoori chicken, yeah, or whatever, and suddenly you feel this craving for suddenly ordering something. How many of you all have done that? Please please just type a yes. Yeah, we feel hungry too. Yes. Do you think this is just done without applying a thought? Oh, let's just have cops eating in their car, it's just a part of their normal life, right? It's actually not. When we talk about persuasion, one of the biggest drives uh, for persuading people is food. Food is a trigger, irrespective of whether you're a sensible eater or a non-sensible eater like me, who probably just eats when he or she when he is bored. Yeah. Food is a trigger. Fear is a very big trigger, and companies consciously use this so that we get attractive. There's a certain emotion that is aroused within us, and all this emotion is not there from the logical part of the brain. Yeah, we have something called a lizard brain. How many of y'all have heard this term? How many of y'all are aware of this phenomenon? the lizard brain. Anyone? So it's so, from a thinking perspective, from a brain perspective, what research shows us is that exactly basic instincts. There are some, there is a part of the brain that immediately reacts, yeah, immediately reacts, without thinking, when we are fearful, when there's a certain emotion aroused, yeah. So that is the lizard brain that tells us, let's say for example, we sense something fearful. Let's say you're in a forest, you're in a safari, yeah, and you've suddenly got down from your gypsy and you are taking a stroll in the forest when the travel guide is telling you not to go there because you never know, a tiger can suddenly come up, right? So that fear, yeah, that fear is something that will prompt you to take a decision immediately. You will not think, you will just run, and you will the action is almost subconscious. Yes, Ajit, in fact, that's a great reference. So so what Ajit Kumar is telling is, there is a similar concept in the book Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, where he talks about two different modes of thinking. Yeah, but persuasion is so much, more beyond that. Yeah, but overall, the concept is that we have different. It's not actually two types of thinking. It's actually three types of thinking. One is your rational decision. You're logically trying to rationalize what is there. The other is your prefrontal cortex, where you are trying to separate yourself. You're trying to protect yourself from decisions that will harm you in the long run. Yeah. Now, when we talk about persuasion, it's all about using these triggers, yeah, in an ethical way, having a deep understanding of a user at a very, very conscious level, and then applying the right kind of methods, arousing the right kind of emotion, so that people will explore a product and finally buy a product from us. Yeah. People think that UX is a new field. In fact, one thing about this field is that we still, every 3 years, we have a debate within the industry. What should we call ourselves? So some 10 years back, my title was interaction analyst. Yeah, that is not a term that we see anymore. Now there are debates about what should we call ourselves, whether it's user experience, customer experience, or something else. Somebody came up with a new title which was called we you know where he suggested that we should call ourselves neuro web designers. People come up with ridiculous names like technology psychiatrists, which, if you ask me, doesn't make sense at all. Yeah. But the thing is that this field has started from the 1940s, where the first commercial aircrafts, were commissioned, and pilots, the problem that they faced was that every time you flew a different flight, a flight from a different company, from a plane manufactured by a different company, they would have to undergo through training again. And the fact is that when you do something right, your muscle memory builds up, and then they have to unlearn all that, and then start how figure out how to use the other aircraft. So these companies, what they did was, they called psychologists to actually understand how what the mental model of the user was, the pilots was, and they came up with something called a Secret Six. Now, this is a standard kind of a dashboard that is continued even now in aircrafts today. So the placement of the dial, the placement of the speed, everything was standardized, and this was continued across aircraft from different companies. Even things like a knob for getting the gear up, getting the wings up, right? So psychologists designed it in a way that it would be intuitive for pilots. Remember, when you're working on something, whenever you're interacting with an interface, it's not only only about how easy it is, it's also about what is the environment in which you're using that system. When you're working in a very stressful environment, your understanding, your reaction time, all can go for a complete toss. Like, just imagine this: the pilot is flying the plane, and suddenly there's a thunderstorm, there's a lot of turbulence, and that's a very stressful environment for the pilot. After all, the pilot is a human being, right? He or she will falter in a stressful environment. So we they the psychologists knew that they needed to make something that was very intuitive, that pilots could understand even at a subconscious level. And how do you do that? By mapping the design to the mental model of the user. So the wings were controlled by a flap like instrument, the wheels were controlled by a wheel like instrument, the like a gear like instrument, which had labels which was clearly mentioned on the dashboard, so that pilots didn't have to think. And this was how the field of formal user experience came into being. Yeah. Now from there, we had different stages in the evolution of evolution of computers. In the 80s, it was all about hardware. You just had to get the thing running. So earlier it was just mainframes. Interfaces were not relevant at all. If your mainframe, if your system could work, that's it. Yeah. And I remember I remember, like, one of my uncles who used to fly down from the US. He had a laptop the size of a large suitcase. That those were the size of laptops that used to come in those days. If you all remember, in the 80s, we had data which was stored on floppy disk, which is like 1.5 MB. Now, even I don't think kids who have not seen that time can even begin to imagine, the kind of data that could uh, get stored on that device. Yeah. From there we moved on to the 90s phase, where if you just build software and the software worked, that was enough for your company to be successful. Yeah. So that's why, that's why if you look at enterprise systems, in fact many companies are paying the price for enterprise horribly designed interfaces even now. Like some of the early companies who built banking systems, legacy enterprise systems, even now, if you look at those systems, it's almost like they really want to uh, play a game with the user, try to figure out what my interface can do. But it just had to work, and that's one of the reasons why Windows and other companies whose software was terrible and they crashed always, they still were successful. Yeah. From there we moved on to the next phase, which is the user-centered design solution phase. Now, uh, with the advent of the internet, when internet became very popular, data became available, and you could do a lot of stuff. Technologies improved. Then people started valuing user experience. Now, we moved on to from desktop we moved on to internet based solutions, and a lot of competition. It's not that you were tied down to using one software because you had already bought that. If customers weren't happy, they moved on to the next competitor. Yeah. So that was what was happening, and their usability became the key differentiator. If you were not usable, you did not survive. In fact, one of the most famous case studies one of the most famous case studies of that era uh, was this was the boo.com website. uh, boo.com website that was created by Disney, and it was a massive failure. They invested a lot in technology without understanding the context and the environment that was that was there at that point of time, what users actually wanted. They invested a lot in visual effects, they invested a lot in visual effect, making things very as we like to use the term, right, fancy. Yeah, those are the things that were used in this. Yeah. Okay, so Sharman has a question about state the basis of your research. So a lot of this research is based on the field of cognitive psychology. uh, the specific resources to this is not there in these slides, but I will share that after the this with you. So there's a lot of research available in the market which talks about this. All basically this data is based on that, but it's not referenced here. Yeah. Okay. Now, from user-centered design solutions, people started understanding what was what user-centered design solutions is. uh, Design professionals started improving interfaces, and things became much more usable than they were. Yeah. Now the the thing was, how do you differentiate between uh, between your companies and other organizations who were offering the same product. Yeah. So there were companies who were investing a lot in usability and things improved. But then now, yeah, designers found out about many things like, is usability just enough? Just because people can do stuff, does it mean that they will do stuff? That was a different question altogether. That was a different thing altogether. And then people realized that it's not just enough to be usable. It is very, very important to be persuasive, because now usability had become table stakes. Yeah. Cool. So then we're starting to move into immersion, augmentation. We are starting to move into things like understanding at a very different level what we used to do before. Yeah. So it is not just about understanding your users, but it's about understanding their complete ecosystem. Yeah. So let's say if you're designing something for, let's say, IRTC, if you're designing a railway a site for booking tickets, the ecosystem would not be only the train, but also the decision making points, the ecosystem. Let's say, for example, your distributors, agents who will book the tickets for you. All of that comes within the things that we have to refer to. Yeah. Then people found designers found that researchers found that uh, every user had every user had different motivations for doing stuff. Everybody had what we call drives, blocks, beliefs, and feelings. Yeah. So drives are your motivators. Beliefs are what your beliefs are. Your mental model is. Your mental model may be correct about something or not. Beliefs and feelings and blocks. So what are the things that will stop you from interacting with us? And trust played a very, very important factor in this. In fact, when I just joined the session, one of the previous session, also the speaker was talking a lot about trust. Trust also plays a very important role in persuasion. From there, it's just not about it's not just about understanding this, but creating a framework, which we call persuasion architecture, in which there is a systematic study of the kind of tools that you use, the kind of personas that you build for, the kind of opportune moments, theme, meme, frame that is used throughout the system. And from there, it's all about cross channel alignment, different touch points. So, it's the overall picture, not just the individual and their interaction with the interface. Yeah. Now, when we talk about usability, so this device is a device which is used by researchers. It's called the Columbia Obstruction device, where they experimented with this glass box. Now this glass box had an electric panel, yeah, just before the piece of cheese. And what they found was that, if they reduce the current, now had this electric panel had a capability to give shock to the mouse, and the researchers had the ability to control the amount of shock also. So what they found was, if the shock was less, then the mouse was willing to go and get the piece of cheese. Yeah. And if the shock was very high, then the mouse would not go for getting the piece of cheese. So this is the analogy for usability, for usability in interfaces. Now the shock that we see here is the the friction, the shock that the users face while interacting with a website, with your app, with your product. How many of you remember IRCTC, the previous version of the site? I remember, many years back, and tried to book tickets, and I told my wife, it's like, I don't care even if the agent charges $500 extra. At that point of time, I don't mind paying. Don't let me go through this uh, interface. Yeah, and I do this for a living. I design stuff for a living. Even now, I remember we had gone for a short trip, and we happily paid $800 extra rather than going through the same improved version of the site. So that's that friction, the shock that we are talking about. Now, from from this perspective, apart from reducing the shock, what are the things that you can do to make the mouse go through this panel and get the piece of cheese? Yeah, it's not about the shock. Yeah, it's not about the shock, but what are the things that you can use? And we'll do a quick activity now. Okay, so we'll start with, yeah, what do is, we will start with listing down 5 things that you can do to make the mouse attracted towards the piece of cheese. It's not about reducing the shock. Think of other methods. Yeah. So what we'll do is, we can create a breakout room now. We'll create 5 breakout rooms now, and I want you all to think about this individually, and then present me the options. I'll also jump between the breakout rooms to check what is going on. Yeah. First 5 minutes, just do the first activity. 5 ways that the mouse can be persuaded to get the cheese. Yeah. Is that clear, everyone? Any questions? Yeah.
Yes, Masood, now you're on the stage. We can continue with the session.
Okay. Everybody is back here.
Yes, everyone is back.
Okay. Yes. It's not. It was working for some, not for everyone. Okay. So, can you all type in the chat window what were the things, 5 ways you could persuade the mouse? Okay, this is interesting. Make the cheese bigger. Make the odor of the cheese stronger. Row of candies. Enhance flavor. Small pieces. Okay. Place it near the place where give the mouse Red Bull. Bring another mouse. Okay. Yeah, I know there was an issue with the session, but all of us have come back to the main room. We were not, a lot of people were not able to. Right. So this is very interesting. A lot of you have already seen some of the principles that are there. Let's start with the first one, right? So Shubham says make cheese bigger. Yeah. Now the thing is, why does it work? Because we always compare things with something else. There has to be a reference point. Yeah. If we make the cheese bigger, if we have like if you compare it to something that is already there, and then that anchor point gets you gets you persuaded towards acting towards that object. If you feel something is valuable enough, we will go through that. Yeah. Then the second option is make the odor of the cheese stronger. Now if the mouse likes the odor of the cheese, then this is something that will definitely work. This is something called a visceral model of emotion, where companies use a lot of this, like the flavor of food, a good scent within departmental malls, within stores, to make people persuaded. A row of candies, that's like extrinsic reward. It's like free data. Okay, that's also a part of persuasion. Yeah. Less obstacles is more about the usability part. Yeah. Enhance the flavor, but how will you communicate that the flavor is enhanced? Lakshmikant, this question is for you. How will the mouse know that the flavor is better? So here, this is about getting the mouse to uh, go and get the piece of cheese, but he will not know unless he actually tastes it, right? Provide alternate route. Okay, how is it? More persuasive? Why would the mouse go uh, through another route? Sunil, this question is for you. Sunil Salaria. Simpler option. Now when you compare it to that, then it becomes it becomes much more attractive. Give the mouse, it will enhance smell is something. See, flavor may not work, but because you've enhanced smell, there is a visceral appeal to that. Yeah. So that works. Okay, now this is very interesting. Both Sailesh and Shoaib Ali have given this. So very similar. Lay down smaller pieces of cheese to the bigger piece of cheese to navigate. So it's like get them to do a little bit, yeah, so that they are persuaded and move on to the next bigger thing, which is that going towards that big piece of cheese. Home deliver is more about convenience. Is about reducing the shock. Yeah. Aromatic, yeah, similar. Puja also, yeah, it's the same. Bigger or more attractive, something that is more attractive looks to be better, right? Seems to be better, right? Even if even if two you have two plates of food and both are almost similar in terms of taste. Something that is presented better will look much more tastier. So again, Dinesh, so this is Ankit's for Ankit's point. Dinesh Kumar also said something similar, which is highlight the cheese. Anshul, also you're going in the same track. We can decorate the cheese with some fruit so that so again it becomes more attractive. Prashant also is saying the same thing. Yeah, so more or less, and again, Ashish, your point about adding glowing LEDs to the cheese is also similar. Yeah, it's just that it's just that this you know this uh, the uh, the flavor part, the attractive, the visceral attractive part. Yeah. Okay. Keep everything dark and only focus on the cheese to with a spotlight. Yeah, so focus on the cheese with a spotlight. Yes, again, you're tunneling, you're guiding the user towards something. Yeah, perfect. Now what I want you to do is, we will not do this in a breakout room, we'll do it here. Now think about all these 5 things that you've mentioned and we've discussed here, and see how these principles are used in real life on you. Yeah, I'll give you one example. Yeah, I'll give you one example. Let's say when you go to a supermarket, right? When you go to a supermarket, you're given an option to taste something, right? And once you taste something, you become hungry, you like there is, you've got food, now you're satiated, and food, like I said, is a key driver. Now if food is a key driver, that arouses good emotions in you. Yeah, and then we will and then we are persuaded to act on something more. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, so let's start another 5 minutes for 5 persuasion methods that are used in real life. So starting with Kamna, smell of bakery items in food stalls. Sachin Kaushik, fear of missing out. Yes. Okay, good. Give food samples, which is what I've just discussed. Display, Sulekha, are you talking about a good display, a good attractive visual display? Go beyond that, something which is much more, than the and discounting and more attractive offers. Yes, free. Yes, framing it as the greatest or latest. So this ties to the FOMO part, right? The fear of missing out. You absolutely must have to do this. Limited period offer, yes. Scarcity. A mannequin in stores. What is that exactly? What principle is that? Yes, Pradeep. Mannequins in stores. What is the principle? Persuasion principle? Yeah. Mass media campaign or advertisement. Yeah, but that's a method. But what is the persuasion here? Okay. Yeah. So let me start with some examples. Health information and how it kind of how it benefits. So extensive information about something to buy. Okay, so it's again visceral appeal. So most of us are going towards the visceral appeal and the offers, extrinsic rewards, which is offers. Portray someone of consequences enjoying the product. Excellent. Yeah, so it's like this what do you say, authority. You're talking about an authority figure, probably a famous star, right? Or a celebrity whom you like for example the cricketer or Sindhu, who just won the badminton tournament, his who is enjoying the product. Special edition. I am special, hence, yes. Influencer, yes. Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay. Now you'll be surprised to know how much, yeah, how much of this persuasion tool is used in real life. Okay. Real estate selling fire by showing that is simulation, feel good. So in fact, 1 rupee donation to charity causes, right? It's you, even if you buy something useless, something that you're wasting your time, that 1 rupee donation will make you feel good. There's a story now, that you're, you're not just spending money there, you're doing something good for society. Ravinder has an excellent example. Invite only purchase. This is exclusive, right? Exclusive. It's only for me. Yeah. Consistency. Yes. Feel good. Yes. Building a story around the product or the food, how the ingredients are packed. Narrative. Yes. A good narrative and good extensive information also leads to the authenticity. Yeah. Let's say, how many of y'all, I don't know about you, but this my kid has actually, my son has actually tried on this. Dad, can I go for a sleepover at my friend's place? Absolutely not. Can I go to Joggers Park for like a couple of hours? They're going to play there. Absolutely not. You have your exams tomorrow. Okay, can I have a 5 star? So you know what he's actually done? He started with a very big. He started very with a very big ask. Then he's come down to a smaller and a smaller ask. Now compared to the first ask, yeah. Now this ask, yeah, exactly, is very small compared to that. Yeah, very small compared to that. Hence, he will get that. Probably if he asked for the first time, he's a great negotiator. Yes, I have to keep tabs on him. Yeah. Scarcity, limited editions, yes. you know Apart from these common cognitive biases that are there are many other things like, this yeah, like this diffusion of responsibility. Yeah. So diffusion of responsibility is like, there was this very interesting experiment done, where very interesting experiment done where a researcher had gone to a zoo, and he researched two different scenarios. In one scenario, there was one bystander, and the researcher pretended that there's something wrong with him. He fell down, yeah, and acted as if he was very sick. Yeah, there was only one bystander, so that person went and immediately helped him. Now in another scenario, the same researcher, there were around 5 to 10, approximately 5 to 10 different 5 to 10 different bystanders who were standing there. And he again did the same thing. He fell down, pretended that he was not well. And interestingly, what happened was, whenever he tried that experiment with a single bystander, yeah, he almost everyone helped him at that point of time. But when he did that with a group, I don't remember the exact percentage, but he got a response of just around 40 to 50%, 45 to 50% from the people in a group. Now why did that happen? When there were 5 people, right? When there were 5 people in the group, everybody thought that someone else would do that. It's also this effect is called the bystander effect. Yeah. Everyone else thinks that someone else is doing it, it's not my responsibility. So in fact, basis that research, what was found that if you address your products and services, like for example, now getting a COVID vaccine is your responsibility as a responsible member of society, will get much more conversion rates than an ad which says, one should get a COVID vaccine because it's the responsible thing to do, or it's for the good of society. When you address someone directly, there's a greater chance that that person is motivated. Yeah. But again, this is not just about just using persuasion methods. Yeah. So give me a minute. It's all about a structured way of doing things. Yeah. Just give me a minute. I'll just have some water. In persuasion, understanding this relies on our understanding of how people, what things motivate people. It's not just that you have a list of 50 biases you can go ahead and apply. Some things will not, some things will not make sense at all for a particular kind of user. In fact, there are some techniques if you use, together. In fact, somebody here mentioned that, authority figure. I think Kamna mentioned, right, about authority figure. So now let's say, for example, now you use Sachin on a website to promote your product, and you also use, a group of common people, not people who are not famous, to promote the same product. You will find that your conversion rates will actually go down, because people will not now believe you, because what you've done is you've taken two different techniques. You've taken two different techniques, like, power of people. We like power of common people and obedience to authority. These two negate each other. So it's a very structured way where we understand motivation, arousal and emotion, how people take a decision, and then apply it in something that we call persuasion architecture. Yeah. Now, in usability, it's all about, how do people browse information, how do people consume information, gestalt psychology, what is the impact of certain visuals, certain colors, how do people comprehend information. Whereas in persuasion, it's all about how do you engage, connect, persuade, get them to come back, and get them to return, even after buying your stuff. Now, when we talk about the structured framework, yeah, there are three things in this: persuasion, emotion, and trust. But your product, the persuasion for your product, always starts with trust. If your user does not trust you, no amount of persuasion will work, because that's the basic table stakes. And only after a person, is convinced about the credibility of your organization, that is when you apply a certain, you arouse a certain emotion in the user, and then apply the right kind of principles. Yeah, the right kind of principles. So to Ayushi's question, how do you build trust with consumers? So again, there's a lot of structured research based methods on how this is done. It starts with good content. It starts with things like FAQ, a simple domain name, association with credible brands, certifications in high power distance cultures. Like, high power distance cultures are very prone to getting influenced by certification. So if your company has an is ISO certified, and you're in India, which is a high power distance culture, people will get influenced by that, compared to, let's say, something compared to, like, using certifications in the US. It's a low power distance culture. It really doesn't matter. Yeah. So credibility, concise content, reference to the sources where you've got your research from, all of these play a very important role in getting in inculcating trust. In fact, there's a long list of methods that we have, but unfortunately, like, we have a very short time in this class, so I'll share just some with you. Yeah. Now, within trust, we have things like reputation, good design, fine print, and tone. Now, almost everyone, when I spoke about the, cheese example, motivating the mouse with the cheese, you all said that, a nice aromatic cheese, a nice looking cheese, a nice looking attractive piece of cheese, and that all falls under the design quality. Now, design quality of your website. So good aesthetics play a role. When we say aesthetics, it's not just look and feel, but the way the content is structured, the kind of colors that are used. Also, you know let's say you go to a site, let's say you go to a website, and you already are aware of something. Now, if that site matches with what, if the site's content matches with what your existing knowledge is, oh, you know what, this site is selling exactly the same thing that I knew, I think this is a good credible site. That's also a way of getting people to trust you. Good FAQs, right, where there's a lot of questions that are answered in a website, also gives this impression to users that this site has done a lot of diligence. It knows what I want. It's giving me a lot of content without me even asking. That again, that increases the trust. If your website has links to other websites, yeah, you're arguing against self-interest, right? Again, that builds trust. So I'm not just restricting you to my website but also to external websites. Again, that will build trust. You have testimonials, which is social proof, what people have done, what customer service comments are, certifications. All of these things play a very, very important role in trust. Yeah. Transparent values build positive reviews, standard your reputation. All this is part of reputation. Yeah. Apart from that, also, like on, especially on the web, right, physical addresses. Many companies, when we consult for them, like, don't put the number, we don't want them to call. But the very fact that there's an actual number there gives that subconscious feeling to that user that, oh, okay, my money is safe. Yeah. Anything that has a smarmy tone. So I'll just give an example of a smarmy tone. Or get this latest oil product from us, which is a combination of 50 different 50 different herbs, which are handpicked from the deepest jungles of the Amazon, which create a luxurious, smooth, silky head full of hair. This is just fluff. People don't like this kind of tone when they are buying stuff. People are actually put off. This probably would have worked say 15 years earlier, but not anymore. Yeah. In fact, one very interesting thing about even reviews, right, is that if your product has all 5-star reviews compared to, like, let's say a 4.75 or a 5 a review, people will actually trust you less if all your ratings are 5. So uh, that also goes on into what makes consumers trust your organization or not. In fact, another very important thing is your policies. What are the kind of policies that you show? Are you transparent, like Shoaib mentioned? Are you transparent in showing, this is what we do, this is how we charge, this is exactly how much we charge? All those come under building trust. Yeah. Apart from that, once your trust is built, then you drive us, then you uh, arouse a certain kind of emotion. So within emotions, you have things like drive, fulfillment, a certain kind of arousal. Then we have Norman's model of emotional design, which is at visceral, behavioral, and reflective level. So visceral is the example that all of you gave, right? Something that looks very good, we have to buy that. Whether it's good or not, that comes at a later stage. Reflective is, what does this product make me feel about? Yeah? So for example, let's say somebody, a businessman who's got a Rolls Royce, right? Now, what is the association with a Rolls Royce? Or say, something which is more down to earth, Rolex. Yeah. It's all about status. It's all about that prestige for that person. I am powerful. It gives a statement that I am powerful, I'm rich, right? Or somebody who buys from, say, only organic, yeah, or does not buy plastic at all. He or she buys jute bags. It's because it says something, not only exclusiveness, it says something about who I am. It says something about what my values are. Yeah. What my values are. Like, say, for example, now this jute bag, even though it may cost 100 times the cost of a plastic bag, it shows that I care for that environment. In fact, this whole trend of ESG, even in investments and investments, it's like it's become very popular, because now this is something that resonates with your internal thought process. Everything is not a show, even though no matter what we think, in terms of when we buy, we think it's just everything is intrinsic. It is, like Shoaib said, an extension of our personality, or how we try to project ourselves. So there could be people who are really, really very caring about the environment, really very concerned, and there'll be people who would want to show that to society. You know what? I'm a very responsible person because uh, I buy, I'm spending money so that the environment does not, get worse because of this. So, I mean, this is not a judgment. I'm just telling examples because from from a psychologist's perspective, um, status. So, status is not just about being rich or important. The status is what is your place in society. Yeah, that is one of the biggest drivers of why people do certain things. Yeah, cool. Uh, there are many techniques, like I said, but it's not just about techniques. There are principles, like a lot of people have told me about decoy strategy, power of free was used, reason for request, fear of missing out. Yeah, but these are just tools that are that are used, and if used effectively you will get a conversion. Let's look at some of the tools and then move on to the persuasion architecture bit. Yeah, there's this very interesting there's this very interesting experiment done by a researcher, Sheena Iyengar, in the US. So they put two tables in a departmental store. One table had 6 jams, the other table had 24 jams. In the table with 6 jams, now this is, a technique called decide this is a thing called decider phobia, where the more choices you give to users, the more difficult it will be for users to take a decision. See the number here, 30% compared to 3% of users who approached this table actually bought. Yeah, people bought more from the table with 6 jams compared to the table that had 24 jams. More people approached that, but when you had to make a choice, people were very confused. In fact, choice making is not only at a superficial level. There's an extremely interesting, interesting research on how, too many choices also leads to decidophobia even in trained professions. Like, for example, there was a case where doctors, when they had to prescribe between a medicine and a surgery, most more doctors prescribed medicine rather than surgery. But when they had to make a choice between two medicines and surgery, the number actually fell down. It's like amazing, right? You would think that this is something that will work for only very superficial things like jams or deciding between clothes. But here there are trained doctors who were confused, who, because of the choice, choosing between two medicines, more doctors prescribed surgery because they had to make a choice between medicines. So choice making is one of the most difficult things that a user has to do. Yeah, and the problem with too many choices in India, and the reason is, one of the reasons is, I blame Shah Rukh Khan for that. If you remember in the 90s, yeah, ye dil mange more ad. Yeah, I'm like, I was never a big fan, but I still remember this. Yeah, everybody is like, all product managers in India, all product managers in India, even abroad, no, we have to give a lot of choices to the customer. XYZ company has given 50 choices, we should have 150 choices. Yeah, this is, if you have to improve the persuasion of your product, only if you do this one thing, only that will be more than enough for you. Yeah, any questions up till now? Okay, cancel. in personalization, do we also take things like accessibility? In personalization, do we also take things like accessibility or disabled in terms of placement products, not just software? How much uh, in research to incorporate other stands like other elderly and disabled? So accessibility is definitely a very big thing in the market. In fact, a lot of companies across the world, yeah, will not will not you know uh, you will not be compliant with the laws in all countries. In India, officially, there is definitely a law, but it's not very strictly enforced. But yes, accessibility is definitely something that is very, very important. In fact, in the US, UK, even 15 years back, when we used to deliver software, e-learning software, we had to make everything compliant, because the government of US would not take any software that was not compliant. So, and the good thing about accessibility is people are realizing that now, if you whatever you do for accessibility actually improves the usability even for lay people. So for example, reduce the number of choices for a person who's suffering with autism. Probably it's difficult, but even for normal people also, making a choice is making a choice difficult. So a lot of these things, there's a lot of commonalities between these things. Yeah. Okay. So let's see some of the principles. Let's see some of the principles now. And like I said, you were talking about how much are we seeing in research to incorporate other strands like LGBTQ and disabled and other differences in gender. So nowadays people are realizing, a lot of people are willing to spend. And even in India, I'm very proud to say that, 10 years back, if you had asked this question, the answer would be very different. But even in India, people are becoming very conscious about the companies that they invest in. People wouldn't mind spending a lot more if they feel that the company is more ethical. Yeah. Companies are now consciously, whether they believe it or not, companies are consciously now implementing things or showing this sense of responsibility towards different user groups. It's not just about money. It's about the sense of fairness. Yeah. And contrary to what we think, it's in even in India, it's not just about money, especially in certain kind of products. But we have a long way to go. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's look at some examples here. Yeah. So if you look at this circle, compare it to this circle, I'm sure all of you know that by now, this circle and this circle is exactly the same. But this looks bigger, right? This looks bigger just because of the smaller circles around this. Yeah. So apart from just the visual aspect of this, companies are taking advantage of this, contrast principle, by showing that, whatever you're spending with us is just around this much. Instead of showing like you only need $50,000 to cover your medical expenses in case of any emergency, you'll just pay the cost of one Starbucks coffee every day. Again, that's a contrast principle, because we are comparing it with the cost of one cup of coffee. Yeah, contrast principle. Yeah. Another example here. So this made a huge difference in the site, in the overall site. So for example here, shipping charges after the redesign of the site, a lot of people were dropping off at this stage. Yeah. $23.95 were the shipping charges. And no, it's not about making things free. A simple change that we did was we added a savings of $134. Surprisingly, incredibly, not surprisingly, incredibly, the number went through the roof. The drop offs reduced dramatically, because now this 23.95 now seemed much smaller compared to this figure, which was 134. Yeah. Estimated taxes. Now this number seemed much smaller. There was no change in the price, no change in anything else. It's just the perception. Now you have to be very careful about these techniques, right? That a lot of these techniques, if you you know, if a person is or a company is unscrupulous, you can easily, you know, be like, you know, stoop to a level that is very manipulative, and you know, very manipulative. But the thing is, with these kind of companies, if you misuse these tools, right, nowadays consumers are becoming more and more conscious. Tactically you might get those sales now, but from a long term perspective, your credibility, once it's lost, very difficult to very difficult to get that back. So now, for example, now why do you know, we blindly trust whatever you know, Tata company, whatever products are there from the Tata company, whether or not it may be true, it's definitely true, but there's already this perception of trust that is there, right? So that is something that is consciously built in these organizations. These organizations will not use these shortcuts, like for example, your checkbox automatically selected, you uncheck, force the user to uncheck for something, yeah, instead of letting them consciously choose, yeah. And using these principles, scarcity principles, right? Even if like for example, Udemy is a site that I've been referring to, I've been going through since almost 8-10 years. Now I know that they are not using scarcity principles. My that course will always be available for 330 rupees, not 3500. Yeah, so all these techniques have to be used in an ethical way, because people will find out. Yeah, cool. Now this is the one of the most interesting parts of what I like in persuasion. Now this research is done at a very deep level. This is all about understanding what are the drives, the blocks, the green, you know, the green section resembles the drives, the blocks, the beliefs and the feelings. The heart indicates the feelings, the head indicates the beliefs. Yeah. So now this is about banking. Okay, this was a project that we done for banking, and through research we found out that effectiveness, efficiency, positive self-image, safety, control, and aligning with a peer group, these were the key drivers. And the key driver, and even the intensity of the motivation was more in effectiveness and efficiency, not just about you know, not just about saving money, not just about anything else. Yeah. Accessibility, lack of accountability, safety and security, fear of making a mistake, yeah, being in control. So all this is done by a technique called laddering, where we ask people, we ask them to, you know, recollect something that they have done over the last you know, over the last 1 month, or we show them some prototypes and ask them, what do you think what do you can you tell look at this and tell me, what is going on for you, what do you feel. We don't ask them what they think about this, we ask them what their feelings are. Everything is based on that word feel. Yeah, can you tell me what were you feeling, what are you feeling when you go through this? And then we dig deeper down to find out what the real drivers are. And in persuasion, what we do is we make sure that we come up with designs that increase the motivation, the things that motivate, effectiveness, efficiency, yeah, positive self-image. So a person, like say, if I'll give an example of how it is applied in a in a website or an app. Yeah, so a person, say from a tier 2 town, who's like, you know, proudly standing with his family, and showing that, you know, showing his kids that he is doing digital banking. Yeah. So that positive self-image, that imagery, if you're targeting that kind of user, then this is something that will resonate with that user. So these are just some examples. Yeah. And how do I reduce the block? So what is it that I can do to make sure that there is you know, the block of lack of accountability is there. So for example, a message, you know, in the footer, please call this number in case of any emergency, or in case of a fraud, call this helpline immediately. We guarantee you that we will get back to you within the next 2 hours. Yeah. So all these all these drives, blocks, beliefs, and feelings are inputs for our persuasion methods. In persuasion, emotion, and trust, it's all about increasing the motivation, reducing the blocks, and you know, addressing those feelings and beliefs that the user has. If the feeling is bad, how do you comfort the user? How do you assure the user? It makes me anxious to know that with a wrong click I can lose my money. So how do I assure the user that something like this will not happen? Yeah, cool. Now comes the architecture part. So now what we do is, we the first step is gathering data about the user. And in persuasion, this is done only with with a one-on-one interview. It's not done with a survey. It's not a simple questionnaire. It's a very specialized technique which goes into the emotional psyche of the user. You use a technique called laddering. Yeah, like you must have, if you're in the corporate world, you must have heard of 5 whys, right? You ask why did you do this, and then go deep down. Similarly, so you will ask questions that go to the exact root cause of why a person is thinking something. Yeah, from there we do an analysis, which is what I showed you. From there, we create a meme, a theme around which the entire structure is created. So each website or a product offering will cater to a certain theme. Just putting in it's not just putting in these examples of cognitive biases or persuasion methods. From there, you'll create a meme to make it viral. You'll And the core drive here is excitement. Yeah, in this example there's excitement. And then you'll create a journey map, and you will identify at which steps we need to apply these principles, at which step there is a trigger, there's a chance for the user block, developing a block and dropping off at this time. And this is how this entire strategy is applied. Any questions here? So Ritu's statement less is more was about a persuasion method, not in terms of the questions. Yeah. PET is persuasion, emotion, and trust. Yeah. And PET architecture is a structured way of applying this. It's not just applying cognitive biases. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Now let's look at different methods. This is something that we've been doing since the last 8 to 10 years now. There's a structured formal process in place where this is done. But now what we are realizing is that many companies, this persuasion, all these tools that we are using is something that people are not getting as influenced as they were before. There's a lot of persuasion clutter in the office. Society has become so consumerist, if that is a word, that a lot of companies have just bombarded people, and people are like saturated with this. Now, how do you take it to the next level? How do you create a persuasion strategy that is something which is far beyond what you've already done? So in persuasion strategy, what you do is you create this research bit, you create data, you create a persona, and then you target these persuasion aspects, these persuasion methods for these different kinds of personas at different types of at different stages of the journey. But here, yeah, to take it to a different level, now this is ongoing research. This is something that is a very interesting field for me. So one is, I see immersive technology, which is which is your AR VR, because technology is becoming very powerful, because we are getting 5G now, internet speeds have increased. There's a lot of potential. Yeah, but again, it's I still feel the next 5-10 years, the use cases are still very very limited. It's in very specialized domains like healthcare, like construction. Though AR is being used increasingly in even in let's say virtual travels and stuff like that, but it's still there is definitely a lot of time for it to become much more mainstream. That being said, we've created a prototype, a VR prototype for a bank. I mean, why would a person check their bank accounts in VR is beyond me. But it was, I guess, it was more of a PR exercise than something really for customers. The other is, a lot of people are getting into this. There's this whole list of cognitive biases that people are now aware of. There are more, this is just 50, but there are also principles by which were published by Robert Cialdini about how do you influence and persuade people. Yeah. And a third is, what we found is something that takes this method, the persuasion, emotion, and trust method, applies it at scale and customizes it at a level that is very very different from what we've been doing up till now. Yeah. So let's say, in a website, or your product, typically, if there are people here who are working on products, how many customer segments that do you target when you're creating a product? Typically, how many customers segments that you focus on? 5 to 6. Okay. Anyone else? What about the other folks? People have given very good examples. Just one? Okay. That's very interesting. It's not a bad strategy, actually. Only one customer this, but very, very difficult to implement in commercial product organizations. Okay. Okay. But that's at a broader level. So around approximately 5 to 6 different types. Even within, LGBT, there are so many different, that's just a, a, a class, right? Within that also you have many psychographic variables. Okay. So 3 to 4 generally is common. 3 to 4 in some cases, up to 6. Some companies even focus on 10, but that becomes an overkill. Yeah. So now what if I say that you can take these 5 or 6 core personas, core segments, yeah, or these 4 or 5 core segments. Now, within these segments, you can further, you know, subdivide these segments into all the possible nuances that we as users could have. What are the different variables? Now, if we create a persona, the psychographics of that persona, the behavior of that persona, the actions of the persona could depend on so many things that are there, right? If I say that it depends on your mood or your customer's mood, do you think it's correct? Yeah, absolutely. But do our personas actually cater for that? No, right? It's very difficult in a static environment. Where you're designing for these different personas, very very difficult to envisage the somewhat, yes, but extremely extremely difficult. Yeah. No. So persona and mood are different, agree with that. What I'm saying is a persona could go through different moods, different events in life. That is the point. Not persona and mood being different, that's fine. But a persona, a user, yeah, could have different events, could have which drive their action. Yeah, everybody is on the same page with that. Okay, Shweta, is that clear now? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Now look at this. Yeah. Machine learning, AI, whatever you say, as of now, is still a hit and miss. No matter how good these algorithms have become. Yeah. So what we are saying is your core user centered way of working remains the same. Now the persuasion architecture that you will use will be based on the same model that you have done, but now you're adding this probability of the system learning based on behaviors, based on the algorithm that you create. And it's not very complex, it's not rocket science. Implementing that may be, and it's not very simple also. There could be hundreds of scenarios, and the system keeps learning on basically what you feed the algorithm, and what the behavior of that user is. So let's say, for example, you take a persona who is, let's say, I'll call him responsible Avik. Yeah. So responsible Avik for a banking site is a persona whose whose core drive is his uh, looking good in front of his family. Yeah, that's his core drive. Somewhat lower middle class, he has a certain income range, which income range, there's a lot of things that he's aspiring for. But what if that aspiring this sorry responsible Avik, yeah, is now in a phase, yeah, not in a phase, or at a point of time he behaves like, say for example, status Abhay. Now Abhay is a different persona whose focuses more on, I have reached a certain place in society and I want them to know that. That aspiring Avi can also be in that frame of mind at times. That's responsible Avik could also behave, could do some actions that may reflect what Abhay does. Yeah, we are all humans, right? We are not constant. Our moods change, our thought process changes. At times we behave differently from what we truly are, right? So this is what hyper personalization is. Yeah, you develop algorithms that provide a starting base for a machine based learning system to learn. You can customize, say, around initially 3 to 4 different kinds of persuasion algorithms, and then train the system to learn and develop this on your own. So for example, if a user visits our site at this particular time, is from this segment, yeah, and has done this interaction on our website, then this is the content you should offer. Yeah, so I'll show you I'll show you an example of this. Yeah. So now, for a simple site, this was actually something that was done for an entertainment site app in India. Now this is for a single persona. Okay, a single persona across one day. Yeah, based on research, I found out that there were 7 different, you know, moods. I won't say mood, or 7 different kinds of frame of mind that this person is. Yeah. And how his or her interaction will change with the system basis his or her frame of mind. So in the morning, for example, if this person wakes up, if this person is from this segment, he wakes up at 10 in the morning, his or her viewing is very casual, very brief. Yeah. At school time, again, there'll be very minimal engagement because thankfully teachers are very strict. Yeah. after school, he's having food, he or she is having food, they wind up. Yeah, yeah, it is predictive. Yeah, it is predictive, but this is not only leaving it to the system. I've seen so many systems that claim that they have done this, but I don't believe we have technology, now, even now, that can truly predict what you want to do. It's all, very qualitative. Still, there's some amount of subjectivity, but the objectivity can increase based on how much we understand the user, how much we understand the ecosystem. Now, understanding the ecosystem, this is no AI can now do this. I know that some companies are coming up with, like Amazon is coming up with a vacuum cleaner with sensors which will try to study, but that's still to get that data and to customize that, is there's we still have time to go. So what I'm saying is, as designers, we have to move beyond, uh, you know, assigning, okay, for this user, this is the pet architecture. But within that pet architecture, I create a framework that understands the ecosystem and creates algorithms that makes the system more smarter, more accurate in prediction what the user will do. Not only prediction, it's not just prediction, but influencing the behavior. Yeah. So I know that this is the time where, at around 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, he's done with his he's done with his food, he's done with everything. Yeah, but he's not focused at this time, so probably I'll show him a light set of reels. Peak time, probably I'll, he'll be more inclined to view something serious or something very, very entertaining. He's like, something that requires a lot of social engagement. So in effect, we're creating these algorithms for maximum engagement. Yeah. Any questions up till now? That's what I'm saying, Ritu. It applies, but but the thing is, I feel that we cannot do this without without manual algorithms. Yeah. Cannot do this without manual algorithms. Yeah. I'm not an expert on Bayesian thinking, but I do think it could apply here. Thanks, Monojit. See, this shows that Monojit is a very empathetic person. Yeah. Yeah. So this intervention of human algorithms based on an ecosystem research, and then you train the machine learning to understand. So let's look at some examples of how I've thought about this. So we can break this algorithm down and see, when you talk about algorithms, right? If you're a designer, a product manager, or marketer, you don't have to leave this to only development folks. I'm sure a lot of people know this, but a lot of people still have this misconception that algorithms, oh, it's only the tech team. Yeah. You can come up with the kind of variables that you think are important and will influence the user's action. So you have points of entry, from where the user is coming from. Yeah. A lot of times what happens is, we design the homepage of the site, of the portal landing page, but most of the entry will be on some landing page or some product page, right? It's not on the homepage. If your user is coming from a Google ad, if a user is coming from a Facebook page, yeah, if a user is coming from a Facebook page, then they will probably land on something else. Yeah. Yeah. So you have to think about that journey. What are the trigger points, like, correctly, that Ritu is saying, trigger points at the points of the journey. So Ashwini, to your question, so ROI is only with A/B testing here. There are many other techniques like usability testing, but all in this, it doesn't make sense. Usability testing takes do not make sense here. It's purely about how many more users have registered for your site, how many more users have bought your product. That's the only ROI. That's the only parameter. We are not looking at intermediate things. We have a hypothesis. By doing this persuasion architecture, I will increase this conversion by 30%. Yeah. So that's all. Parameters behaviors may change over times, yes, based on different variables. That's fine, but we ultimately it's all about increasing. Now to Supriya's question, these data for trigger points, that's what I'm saying. It's not just about analytics data. It's about, this approach is different from analytics, very different from analytics. This data, Supriya, is based on our understanding of the customer's ecosystem. So if you look at this ecosystem research here, yeah. So this was done based on research done by only 15 users. Only 15. Their viewing habits of school students from 8th to 10th. Yeah. And this was tested with actual users, like 100,000 users. We found that the behavior matched. This was the approximate time that they actually did. Yeah. So qualitative research will help you even when we don't have these data points. By research, we'll know that this is a trigger point for that. Transactional data, it's very tricky to use that, because your transactional data will only reflect what you're doing, right? So if your site is already bad and we just look at that data, you'll be only limited to that data that is there, the how people are reacting to that data. But what if you're completely changing the journey? Then that transactional data might not be relevant at all. Yeah. A/B testing, is that effective for users point of entry? Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and at any point, right, at any point, let's say when you're doing A/B testing from Google, from FB, or from organic search or from other sites, you will also know how valuable that medium is, right? So if we are focusing more on optimizing methods, then probably from which channel they are coming on is also very, very important, because you'll realize that from which channel, what channel people are coming in, that will also have an impact on how they behave. Yeah. Okay, Ishan, I'm not Anupa, hope I answered your question. And Supriya, you? Okay. Supriya? Okay. Sure. I'll just come to that. I'll just ask Ishan Dixit about. I didn't understand this question. How can we avoid overfitting? I'm not very sure. Can you elaborate more? Oh, how do you avoid the algo from being rigid? No, so I will show you the algo, the method. Then you'll have a better understanding. And you keep it loose so that the system develops and start adding the parameters automatically. Yes, Supriya, your question on sampling bias. Supriya, your question on sampling bias. So if we choose 15, how do we extrapolate? So see, uh, in qualitative research, right, if you choose the right kind of variables, so we do something called a screener, which have the most important characteristics of that user, the psychographic profiles. It's not only the demographic or the income group. So things that affect their behavior. So for example, now let me give you an example. Let's say you want to do a study on gaming, right, on users who are into games. Now you will find that probably a 25-year-old and a 50-year-old who are very passionate about gaming, irrespective of their gender, they could be a single persona. The age doesn't matter, because both are extremely passionate, both are extremely capable in doing this. Their behavior is the same, both are impulsive, very excited, exuberant, irrespective of their demographic. So things that matter to that domain. But if we take another example, like the insurance domain. Yeah, in insurance, age and income does play a factor in selecting the users, right? Because 25 up to 25, that's the entry point for where most people buy in insurance. But after 35, their behavior will change. They'll go in for a top up, they'll go in for more value stuff. So depending on the domain, what is relevant for you and what do you anticipate will change the behavior is how you select the right kind of user and how you price per user group, per one type of user. You'll find that qualitatively and in terms of their attitudes, you'll find a lot of commonalities between that. So if you have three user segments, 10, 10, 8 to 10, 10, 30 will give you a very good sample size. I hope that's clear, Supriya. Okay. Okay. Cool. So now to the method. Yeah. And again, this is something that I'm constantly developing. I've been working on this since the last year. It's very interesting. The kind of possibilities are endless. Is going slightly into AI and those statistical models, but unfortunately I'm terrible at statistics, so I'm taking time to develop this further. So you have these different variables that you can add, and for each one, what you do is, for creating an algorithm, you just what you do is you just note down what are the segments, what are the entry points, just put in the values. Yeah. Thank you, Ishan. What are the actions that are taken on the screen, what are the persuasion triggers that you'll use, what is the day and time of entry, like for example Feb to March, right? Now for example, if a bank wants to bank wants to sell a mutual fund session, mutual fund for to people in India from a certain income group, that will probably be the best time to do that, right? So all these things, whatever you think is important for the domain, you create a table out of that, and from there, what you do is you create these algorithms. Yeah. Now this again, uh, these segments are you can make it as complicated or as simple as possible. In fact, this is the only place in user centered design that I tell you where the more complicated or the more scenarios it covers, the algorithm will be more complete. So let's say, for example, here, if a user comes from a certain, place, a certain campaign, and is of this segment or this segment, or there are four segments with a psychographic profile. Psychographic profile is the thing that will uh, you know uh, that will show the attitudes of the user. So for example, a value conscious user will be very different from a status conscious user, right? So you will select this and does this action or this action or this action. Say for example, he does explore or clicks on a link or does a search with a certain keyword. Yeah. At And again, this is all descriptive. It's completely up to you to finalize to fill in the algorithm from this month to this month. Then use these triggers in this mode. For example, your mode is a layer or a page or a pop-up window or a full screen. Yeah. At this point of time, into number of times. So number of times is like at three times in a week. So all of this is completely flexible, and then you leave it to the more you detail out this algorithm, yeah, the more accurate it will be. And again, this detailing out will be on the basis of your persona. You cannot just do guesswork here. So the core again here is complete research, nothing else. Yeah. And this is what will help you in the hyper personalization. So what we'll do is I'll take some questions here. Yeah. And then we'll quickly do a 10 minutes, 15 minutes session on creating our own algorithm. So triggers, persuasion triggers is basically, so like these methods that will help influence your user to take an action. So for example, only three left, scarcity principle, that's a persuasion trigger. Yeah. So that is what a trigger is. Yeah. Or this is only three left. Yeah. Or this deal is going away now. Those are different kinds of triggers. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So what we'll do is, I want you Yes, you could say pressure points. Pressure points are slightly different, but kind of, yes. Okay, so what I want you to do is now, we'll not go in breakout rooms now. Let's try doing, a persuasion algorithm for travel, banking, or ethic domain, or any domain that you think is relevant. Yeah. But these will be slightly easy for you because you're doing it for the first time. Yeah. So like, you can take some time and ask me questions. If you want to share your screen, if that's possible, we'll also do that. Yeah. Any questions here? I won't divide you in groups now. All of you can do that, and we'll review 4 or 5 persuasion algorithms. Yeah. And if you have any doubts about a specific thing, if you want to, don't wait till the end of the persuasion algorithm to show me whether you're on the right track or no. You can ask in between also. Cool. Any questions? I'm going to stop sharing now. Yeah. Okay. We can write down the algorithm within the chat window itself. That'll be easier and faster for us, since we have only 10 minutes, 11 minutes. Supriya, Kamna, Ishan, Ritu, Ayushi. See, I'm using diffusion, Shoaib, diffusion of responsibility. Start it. I'll give you a starting point. Okay. Let's say a status conscious user. Yeah. Okay. Status conscious user. Ishan, you can a traveler. You can take that up. Huh? Let's see what if a user looks to open a savings account, and then no. What is the kind of user? That's very, very important. Yeah, but you're on the right track. Now refine the user more. If a say tech savvy user looks to open a savings account, the what is that, the psychographic of the user is convenience. Yeah. No, so Kamna, this is just a persuasion trigger. I'm telling, create this algorithm right now. One second, I'm going to share this again. uh, I'm going to share this again. Just take this as a starting point. Yeah. You can all see the screen full. You can all see the full screen, right? In full size, right? Okay. Responsible user wants to travel Europe but finds the uh, fares too expensive. So now you're creating an algorithm too. So the starting point is correct. Wants to travel to Europe. So but finds that's more of a so this user is a value conscious user. So what will he or she do? What will our system do to help, right? So if a user who's a value conscious user, say comes in from types in Google. Yeah. So our system would show like a Google ad banner which focuses on deals. Yeah. Lands on a then uh, you know and he's doing this action, he's searching something like deals, right? So then use these triggers. For example, yeah, show deals within so much, show filters within so much. That's the this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, is that clear, Anupama? No, that was someone else, right? The travel thing. Ritu. Yeah. Okay. Supriya, if a parent is academically oriented and wants to focus on academics, then you walk the user through different academic course available, the success of the courses and the cost of the courses. Perfect. And you can go even more deeper. Yeah. So this academic oriented, is that the only behavioral variable that you need to focus on, or is there something else also? Yeah. So Supriya, this is for you. Responsible user for a week long holiday show in months. So you can even define the kind of imagery. Ritu, this is for your this is your feedback. Um, so imagery of people traveling with family, because this to reduce the fear of uh, managing his or her family at that time. Ishan time period, winter location is northern. No, this is, you need to slightly elaborate more. So, what kind of user? It's not just the demography. What kind of user is the user? So, is he a conservative traveler? Is he a like person who loves travel? Is he a status conscious traveler? Is he a traveler who travels for only Insta and all that stuff? All the more accurately you describe this, right, the better it will be. Yeah. So if you're doing this for a travel site, what are the location? You can ask like a survey. What are the kind of what? So not survey. What is the kind of travel that you like? Show a survey, which a question and a wizard that will ask the user what kind of this is he looking for? What kind of travel he is looking for? At academic courses. Yes, Shubham, this is excellent. Seeks for discount and at every travel, then use. Okay, this is also very pointed. Shweta, if first time user is flying and user is new to the ecosystem, then he uses step by step guide. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, very good. So all the points are good. You just need to elaborate more. I know this is I mean, it's like, I've been working on this for a year. This is not something that you'll get immediately, but yes, you're on the right track. Okay, cool. Any other examples, or we can take. Thanks, Ishan. Thanks. I would suggest seriously you should try this out. Yeah, and when you actually try to map it to actual product, you'll realize how difficult it is. Exactly, the devil is in the detail. Yeah, yeah. But trust me, it's very easy to be very superficial in this. Yeah, but you need to really do a lot of research, because what happens is, I know, I'm sure probably a lot of you are from the UX field here, but for those who are not, what happens is we tend to assume that users think like us. Yeah, we tend to think that users like us, and we generally, when we create these persona videos, we are actually catering for ourselves and not the user. Yeah. Thanks, Ayushi. New gen customer, first time banker who wants all banking options online and ease of use. uh, Slightly more detailed, but on the right track. So first time teenager will have a lot of, it's not just ease of use, he or she will have a lot of fear, right, about banking. Sivaranjani, so how do you overcome that fear? How do you inculcate that trust? Thank you, Anshul. No, Ishan, this is something that I'm working on. This is top secret. I'm in this, what is that US sector where they have uh, UFOs? I'm working in that sector. No, I will publish this sometime. Yeah, there are no open source templates available here. This is something that I've been thinking since the last 1 year. Yeah. Any other questions about any other topics here? Area 51, yes, Area 51, the UFO thing, right? Yeah. Welcome, Akshay. Any other questions, folks?
Thank you, Masood, for the such a wonderful and engaging session.
Huh.
You can stop sharing your screen.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Thank you for such a wonderful and engaging session. It was very helpful. The kind of comments we are getting, I think, speaks a lot about the session delivered. So, we wish to thank all of you for attending the workshop today. We have an action packed day tomorrow comprising of exciting sessions, panel discussions starting at 10 a.m. For those of you who have registered for the in person